Would it be difficult for you, listeners, to believe that many parents are poisoning their children without even realising? My guests tonight say that potentially deadly toxins in family homes around Australia, and indeed around the world, are widely responsible for creating generations of toxic babies. Children that are now more than ever at risk of abnormal brain function, developmental disorders, behavioural issues, and even childhood cancer. Dr. Marie Alexander and David Blackshaw will soon be holding an open public education workshop at Port Macquarie's G Warehouse, and we'll have details about that very shortly. But for now, welcome back, David and Carrie, to It's Time to Talk.
Hi, Tim.
Welcome.
I thought I was going to be Marie then for a minute. It's
Good evening,
Did I call you Marie, did I?
Yes, you did.
I
That's
apologise.
right.
You must get that a lot, though.
I do.
The way the show's going tonight, you're lucky to have been called anything, even vaguely resembling your name. Listen, I'm recalling a time when my boy was a baby, and I remember clipping him on his high chair to the breakfast bar, on his high chair, you know, those clip-on chairs.
Yeah.
And I gave him his honey toast, cut it into 4, and he's eating it there, and we were all watching him and thinking how adorable it was. He dropped a bit of his toast, as children do, and he dropped it onto this dirty bench. When I say dirty, it had, bits of old, probably old baby food and stuff like that. And I remember his mum screaming, don't put it back in your mouth, because he picked it up and tried to put it back in. And because of the state of the bench, she panicked, as parents do, took it off him, and I gave him a fresh piece of toast. And then she went to underneath the kitchen sink, and she got out a well-known brand of surface spray, and she all across the bench, and she wiped it up. And then that's when the penny dropped for us. We looked at each other, and we realised then and there that what she had just sprayed onto the surface was probably 1,000,000 times worse than the old fruit and the old vegetables that happened to be there before. Is it hard for you to re-educate people like me who were brought up in there was a whole generation of us brought up with mums and dads who taught us that all that stuff underneath the kitchen sink was there to keep us healthy and was there to protect us?
I think initially they believed it was there to make their lives more convenient and to make cleaning up quicker and easier. And unfortunately, the chemicals that they used to do that were byproducts of industrial production and manufacturing. But they did make the job easier. The bleachers, whitened faster, and the Bon-Ami and the Ajax and all of those things, they scoured the benches really well, and everything looked clean and smelled clean because they had those artificial fragrances and the zesty, lemony smell, and smells that I now equate with toxins, and it's an unhealthy kind of smell. But that generation definitely believed that that's how you got things clean, and it wasn't clean unless you did that.
It's funny you mentioned the smell, because there are people who walk into a house or anywhere, an office where that stuff has been sprayed around or used, and they take a deep breath and they go, oh gee, it's clean in here. Whereas when I smell it now, because I've been using sort of natural products for a long time, I walk down that aisle in the supermarket where they're all sold and I can barely breathe. And that's, I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I have to actually get out of that aisle very quick. Brings tears to my eyes.
So those artificial perfumes are definitely linked to respiratory problems and early asthma and allergies in children. And they're designed to cover up the toxic chemical smell that you wouldn't want in your house if you really knew what it smelled like.
I think the main issue with all of this is that you have very, very good marketing people out there. And I think if we remember back through our childhood, all of the jingles that are out there, and the jingles are about the promotion of the products. And, Mr. Sheen and all the wonderful things that Mr. Sheen did. And at the end of the day, it still came down to the one thing, is that they had these products that they had to move, and the only way that they could move them to sell them was to make them sound fashionable and wonderful and miraculous in what they did.
And that we really needed them. We really had to have them.
And everybody, it was a bit of a fad or a bit of a cult thing to say, well, I bought Mr. Sheen the other day and it did this and it did that. And then it was the one-upmanship, and then the jingle got stuck in your head. And
the character, of course, and all that sort of stuff. But, I mean, if we've become so enlightened these days, because I like to think we're a more enlightened generation than my parents, for example, but these products are still they're probably more widely used than they were in my parents' generation.
Yeah, there's tens of thousands of chemicals out there that are used in cleaning products and in air fresheners and products we use on our bodies, and they're just being produced at a rapid rate. Most of them aren't tested for safety. They're let loose onto the marketplace and combined with things that sound natural, and perhaps they've even put them in with essential oils and they've called them natural products in a lot of cases, and they're far from it.
Oh, I see. So they're getting cleverer by putting pictures of lemons on the bottle and pictures of oranges and lavender and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, to portray that it's that environmental and clean and sound and all the rest of it, and ethical and all these things. But when you actually go through a cupboard of cleaning products, and if you add up the ones that did the toilet, the bathroom, the floors, the walls, the benches, the sinks, the stove, the cooktop.
They're probably all the same thing.
And you add them
basically.
all up, at the end of the day, the chemical formulations are pretty much the same thing. It's just the clever marketing and the packaging. But the main issue is when you go around your home and you use all of these products, things like Windex on the windows, and some people even use vinegar on the windows, which, is basically just as bad. It actually then builds up a toxic bomb within the home. Now, scientists have actually proven that the VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds that come from these things, built up inside the home, can be up to 1,000 times worse than standing on the main street of Sydney. Now, it's an amazing statistic, but it's fact. It is an actual fact. And unless you ventilate your home and allow sunlight to come through your home and get off this treadmill of using these quick, fast and glossy products, you're going to end up with a toxic home, and that's obviously where we come in, and that's what we're talking about.
So you'll be running this this workshop very shortly. It's a public education workshop at the G Warehouse, which is your business in Port Macquarie, and it's going to be all about focusing on babies more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
The products around the home, not just the products, but all the things around your home that could be poisonous to a baby. So let's start at the beginning, if that's all right with you. I mean, what interested me is this, that you've got a pregnant lady, and we do so many things these days. When a woman's pregnant, you take your folic acid, you take certain vitamins. Some women don't even ride horses. You take all these precautions, and yet tell us some of the things
that most pregnant women do are renovate their home. They've suddenly got some time off work and they start painting.
The nursery.
The nesting field.
Sand back furniture. They rip up carpets, lay tiles. They've got that burst of energy in the middle of the pregnancy and think, hey, go for it. But unfortunately, it's taken quite a while for scientists and doctors to catch up to the fact that there are environmental pollutants out there that can get through to the baby. They used to believe that the placenta acted as a type of barrier to protect the baby from any chemicals that the mother may have come into contact with. And it wasn't even until when thalidomide hit Australia, and it was an Australian discovery, thalidomide, back in the 60s. It was the 60s that thalidomide came out and was given to mothers with morning sickness. It wasn't until babies started being born with deformities, missing parts of their arms and fingers and things, that doctors realised, drugs can actually affect the baby. Drugs that the mother takes can affect the baby. And now it's decades later that we've really learned that environmental pollutants can affect the baby too. And, only really recently that scientists have seen that some of these environmental pollutants actually affect the developing baby's brain and have long-lasting effects, ranging from just learning and behavioural disorders to cancer. During pregnancy, babies are especially vulnerable. It's usually at the stage before a mother even realises she's pregnant, from about 17 days up to, I think it's 56 days, and that period's called organogenesis, where the baby's cells are rapidly developing and differentiating. That's a critical time for when a mother comes into contact with certain toxins that the birth defects can occur.
So the placenta is good, but it certainly can't filter out what we're doing.
The placenta is a massive of blood vessels, and so it can absorb a lot and it can dispose of waste, but it absorbs everything that goes in, basically, that goes into the mother, goes into the baby.
What about the fact that, you know, the mother, even during pregnancy, or the parents, they start collecting the baby products that they're going to use once baby's born? Tell us about some of the problems with the baby products on the market.
Well, pretty much from the minute the baby enters the world, you know, a nappy's snapped on, and nappies, disposable nappies that everybody's using these days, and even in the hospitals, and they're made of bleached paper, and they've got these chemical absorbers in them, and they release